Hey loves, it's your girl Mariah Sincere, and I am back with another bomb lunch hour. For those of y'all who don't know me, I am a self-love coach who specializes in helping people radically transform their lives. My life is the proof. I've been through it all. Traumatic childhood, toxic relationships, terrible jobs. And anytime I've decided that I wanted to change my life, I've made it happen. For example, at the beginning of the year, I decided I didn't like living in the United States anymore. So I developed a plan, and within 6 months, I moved here to Colombia. So I'm coming at y'all live from the beautiful city of Medellin, Colombia. So if you are interested in that type of help, hit me up at thepassportsis@gmail.com. My email is in the description box, and I can go ahead and get started with you. With that said, guys, we are going to have a good live today. I've decided 1:30 is probably going to be a better time for me than 12, just because I work. I get up and work so early. I get up at like 3 o'clock in the morning to start work. I work until like 9, and then I want to go to the gym. I got to prioritize going to the gym. So, and then I don't want to come on here looking raggedy. So 1:30 is good. It's lunchtime for somebody. Hell, if you in the East Coast, well, if you're in the West Coast, it's probably lunchtime for you around that time. Some people take late lunch. So we are still going to be the lunch hour show. With that said, guys, if you come in, hit the like button. We got a lot of things to talk about today. Y'all, I am so tired of the Biden administration. We're going to talk about them. We're going to talk about Trina and Cam Newton's shady interview. And we are also going to talk about how these celebrities are going crazy, like particularly Ray J. I don't know. It just feels like ever since the whole Diddy thing came out, like these celebrities are losing their mind. It's so crazy to see how it was all just a house of cards. And then we're also going to have a discussion about parenting in the United States. I saw a story that really intrigued me. A mom got in trouble because her 10-year-old walked to a store that was less than a mile away. So, we're going to discuss, are we making our children too soft now? Okay. So again, if you're just now coming in, hit the like button. I'm going to go ahead and get started. I'm going to get the politics out the way first. Ooh, my throat. Okay. So let me put my headphones on. Again, if you're coming in, please hit the like button. That lets people know that I'm on live. And, if you've been watching me for a while, go ahead and hit that subscribe button. I'm going to present my screen. Now, before I share this, let me say this. Normally during this time, after a president has lost an election, this is considered like the lame duck period. And of course, they can still legislate. But I feel like if you're going to legislate, then maybe you should try to make good on the promises that your party made during the campaign. Like if you're going to try to do anything, if you're going to pass any executive orders, maybe it should be something to help the people. I find it very odd that Joe Biden has instead chose to further escalate tensions with Russia. And y'all are going to see how he did it, especially considering that the majority of the country took an anti-war stance this past election. We chose to vote for the candidate who ran on ending wars, and we chose to support a candidate who ran on making peace with Russia. So this is giving sabotage. So basically, Joe Biden gave the Ukrainians the okay to use U.S. missiles. So I'm going to read this. This is from The Guardian. I'll share it. Okay, so it says the U.S. President Joe Biden has permitted Ukraine to use U.S.-made ballistic missiles against Russian and North Korean forces inside Russian territories. So these are long-range missiles. So basically, we've given them permission to fire these missiles into Russian territory. Officials in Washington told reporters the weapons could be used in the region of Kursk, where Kiev has launched an incursion, but that Biden may agree to their deployment elsewhere before Donald Trump comes to power in January. The Kremlin said the U.S. decision represents an escalation of the conflict. It is clear that the outgoing administration in Washington intends to take steps to continue to add fuel to the fire and to further inflame tensions around this conflict. Vladimir Putin spokesperson Dmitry Peskov told reporters, "This decision is reckless, dangerous, aimed at qualitative change, a qualitative increase in the level of involvement in the United States." The Russian Foreign Ministry said that the Ukraine use of long-range missiles to attack Russian territory with U.S. and ally support would fundamentally alter the nation of the war and trigger an adequate, intangible response from Russia. Guys, basically, if they use those weapons, hey, what's up, Skinny? Good to see you here, brother. What's up? Basically, if they use those weapons, it goes from this is a Russia-Ukraine war to this is a Russia-Ukraine, United States, and NATO war. That is an act of war. And the fact that our president had to give them permission to use our missiles, that is an act of war. So this could trigger a multitude of things. Worst case scenario, we are in World War III. Worst case scenario, nuclear war here. Because we not gonna act like Russia don't got them things on them. Okay. And I know the liberal stance is that, people feel like Russia has to be stopped. People feel like we should continue this war. It's crazy how, the Democratic Party has turned into the party of war when like 10 years ago, it was the Republican Party. It's crazy how things have shifted, right? But honestly and truly, I'm going to say this. It's Ukraine's fault that they're in that war. I feel bad for everybody that has lost their lives, but it's their government's fault that they're in that war, because I saw videos of Russia warning Ukraine and warning the United States, hey, if there keeps being talks about Ukraine joining NATO and y'all move these missiles into the Ukraine, then we are going to invade the Ukraine. It's not like Russia was planning to invade the Ukraine for the sake of it. The threat was always, if y'all continue with this whole NATO talk, then we're going to stand on business. And they said that for years and years. And then it got to the point of, well, you just have to F around and find out. And that's what happened during the Biden administration. And I'm not going to say it's the United States' fault only, because my whole thing is, what sense does that make? That's just like you got a homegirl, right? And she knows she can't fight. And she's over there talking mess to a big old girl, a big old swole, gross sister-looking girl sitting next to her. She talking mess to the girl. Then she kikiing with you. You joining in, gassing her up, but you on the other side of the room. Okay, and then don't be surprised when gross sister snatch you up. She's closer to you. Don't let your homie gas you up to get beat up. And that's basically what happened with the Ukraine and the United States. The Ukraine is a direct neighbor of Russia. Naturally, I would think that the mindset would be, we are not even going to entertain the United States, because even though we don't like Russia, we're having some disagreements. They are our neighbor next door. They are bigger than us, and they can fight. They can even fight the United States. That's halfway around the world. So to me, that's on their government, period. And at this point, they just need to humble themselves, admit that they let their behind write a check, that they ass can't cash, and keep it pushing. Negotiate. If they got to give up some territory, give it up. Give it up. But as far as American tax dollars, we need to discontinue funding this war. And this needs to be a lesson to the rest of the world. Don't let the United States gas you up, right? And the American people need to let our government know we don't have it to give. But this kind of changes the situation. I am hoping that behind the scenes, Donald Trump is calling both of these people, because he is the one that's about to go into power. I hope he's calling Zelensky and saying, hey, now I know Biden gave you the okay to use those missiles, but to be clear, if you do that and you try to escalate this situation, I'm gonna let you know that when I get in office, we're not coming and backdooring for you. We're not going to be your backup. This going to be the first. The missiles you got, them going to be the only ones you got, you know? And I hope he's calling Putin behind the scenes. And I hope Putin is wise enough to understand what Joe Biden is trying to do. Right? I hope he's wise enough to understand. I hope he's hip enough to American politics to see this is them saying F you to the American voters. This is them trying to sabotage the American people because they are upset that they lost an election. You know, also, there's probably plenty of money involved in the situation. War pays a lot, especially for these people who get these huge contracts during war. So, yeah, there's a lot of people who have a lot riding on conflict and people being unalived and people being in constant friction with each other. Like, it's a whole industry. But, you know, I hope that the leaders that are in power and the one that is about to come into power I hope level heads will prevail. And ultimately, I hope we choose to discontinue funding that. So, you know, we will see how that happens. I think it's messed up. I think this says a lot about Joe Biden and his administration. I think this says a lot about the Democratic Party. And honestly and truly, the way that they have behaved these past 4 years and during this election season, they're going to have a hard time rebuilding and rebranding. I don't think people are going to forget this so easily. With that said, guys, I am going to move on to messier things. So first, let me talk about Diddy. Before I get to Trina and Ray J and them, let's talk about Diddy. So I found this on the Shade Room. Again, guys, if y'all are just now coming in, hit the like button. So this is on Instagram on the Shade Room. And basically what's going on is prosecutors are accusing Diddy of trying to influence the jury. Okay, so it says in documents obtained by TMZ TV, federal prosecutors claim Diddy recruited his family members to launch a media campaign focused on his birthday for the purpose of influencing the jury in his trial. As previously reported, a video was shared on social media of Diddy's children wishing him a happy birthday via phone calls. Prosecutors are reportedly claiming that the post was staged and that the video was shared under Diddy's carefully curated direction. Officials are accusing the mogul of monitoring audience engagement while still in custody and discussing with his family that the video has its desired effect on potential jury members in the case. As Diddy's legal team continues to try and get him released on bond, prosecutors are calling him a flight risk with unlimited resources and danger to the public. I think the prosecutors are basically, first of all, let's say this. Diddy is trying to launch a PR campaign via his children. I don't think it's going to work, especially since at this point, everybody's in a group chat, okay? You got white comedians in white America talking about P. Diddy and his escapades. Like, you can go on Joe Rogan and Theo Von, and you can go on, I forget their names, but y'all know what I'm saying, Flagrant. Any major podcast of influence that is kind of like mainstream on YouTube that a lot of people know about, they are absolutely trashing Diddy. So it's going to be very hard for him to get the public on his side. I personally feel like it's a wrap. Like, as far as the court of public opinion, he is guilty. Even though all of his charges are alleged and have not been proven in a court of law, we've pretty much made up our minds, right? So I understand he has to try to do what he can do. You know, it's not over until it's over, but we've made up our mind. I feel like the prosecution is more worried about him being offered the opportunity to have bail, right? Because again, he could be a flight risk, or he could try to influence witnesses, or he could do a whole bunch of shady stuff, especially if he gets desperate enough. So I think that's the bigger issue here. And the more evidence that they can present that he is trying to coerce people or sway the jury, the more likely it is that they can keep him behind bars until his trial. And I think, honestly, that that's the best thing to do, because cases can fall apart if you have witness tampering or if people start going missing. So I think that's the right thing to do. And hopefully they can keep that man in jail. Another thing I wanted to talk to y'all about is, are our kids too soft? Are our kids too soft now? Like, for real. Let me show y'all this story. And y'all can tell me what you think. And again, if you're just now coming in, please hit the like button. I'm going to say this. I teach kids in China, right? And when I tell you, I teach kids who are like 5 years old, 6 years old, 7 years old, and their parents do not play with them. These kids are playing piano, playing the violin, and they're reading in English better than kids of the same age here in the United States. And English is their second language. These kids have responsibilities. They have expectations. They have routines, like, and their parents are like on them, you know? So not just that, you know, just here living in Colombia, you kind of see that a lot of kids learn to be a little bit more, especially the girls, a lot more independent. There are higher expectations of people to know how to do things, right? So I'm just kind of feeling like everything is a problem, and I feel like there's no balance. Like, I understand protecting kids, but it gets to a point where you make life so comfortable to them that there's absolutely no adversity. And that is the only way that you can grow. That doesn't mean that a kid has to be being, you know, you got to lay hands and feet on your kids and you got to like mistreat them and things of that nature. But how do you instill character without certain type of hardships? And I'm going to talk about that. Hi, Intelligent Hood Genius. Right, look at the video I just sent you on Instagram. Okay, I'll look at it. Give me a second. So I'm going to show this to y'all. This was kind of like what? 1 second. I be saving way too much stuff and then can't find nothing. Here we go. This was ridiculous to me. Again, guys, if y'all are just now coming in, hit the like button. That helps people know that I'm on live. So I got this off of It's On Site. So body cam footage release of the Georgia mother who was arrested for allowing her son to walk a half a mile to the store. So a half a mile is a 10-minute walk. The boy was 10 years old. Let's watch the video.
Moment Brittany Patterson was arrested for letting her 10-year-old son walk into town by himself.
What am I under arrest for?
For reckless endangerment.
And how was I recklessly endangering my child?
Talking about it.
On October 30th, Patterson said she took one of her children to the doctor. In the meantime, her son, Soren, who since turned 11, decided to walk less than a mile into town from their home in rural Mineral Bluff, Georgia.
So I guess she took her one son to the doctor, left the 10-year-old at home. He left and he decided he wanted to go to the store. So he being disobedient, but let's continue. But honestly and truly, when my mother used to leave us at home, we would leave the house too, but times were different.
While out, Patterson got a call from the sheriff's department, worried that Soren was walking alone.
I wasn't concerned. I wasn't, panicking or concerned because it's just a short walk from our house. He knows how to get home. He knows how to get there.
Authorities dropped Soren off at home, and 5 hours later, they returned.
Call mommy and tell them they're taking you to jail because you decided to walk down the street.
Let go of your hand. That's not his fault.
Yeah, call mommy.
You're the mother. That's your responsibility.
I understand why she pissed off at the son, because maybe he didn't ask for permission. So You know,
Responsibility.
Anytime I checked, it wasn't illegal for a kid to walk to the store. So.
It is when they're 10 years old.
Patterson was booked on suspicion of
which is crazy. And y'all, there are a lot of crazy laws on the books when it comes to kids. Y'all, I remember in the 90s, child care has always been very expensive, but we didn't go to daycare. I remember my mom leaving me and my two brothers at home, at least from the age of 6 years old. I was at home alone. My brother is 2 years older than me. And then we had my younger brother. He is 4 years younger than me. So we got left at home a lot because my mom couldn't afford daycare. But we were expected to clean. And the older I got, by the time I was 8, I had dinner ready. My mom would send us to the store to go get her some cigarettes and coffee. You know, we would jump the fence, walk to the store. We were outside. So it's like, okay, can kids not play outside anymore by themselves? Like, does an adult have to be outside every single time? And don't get me wrong, as far as my daughter, because she is an only child, I don't let her go. She's 8. Like, I wouldn't let her go outside and play by herself. And she doesn't have siblings. So maybe if she had like an older brother or something she could go out with, or I had a lot of kids, I would send them out together. But it's just her. She's by herself. So, of course, I have to go out every time she goes out, and she's a girl, right? But my point is, we used to be out and about. And while we were outside, we were learning how to do stuff. We were building things, tearing things up, creating things, learning how to have social skills and solve conflicts free of adults being there while we were playing outside. It's like this new generation of kids is relegated to being inside all the time. And then we complain that they don't have social skills. But honestly and truly, adults are so busy, they don't have time to go outside with all these kids all the time. So it's like, are we softening up our kids? Like, would it be beneficial for them to learn things like, hey, don't get in the car with strangers? Like, we knew because we were going outside, don't get in the car with strangers. Like, I knew, hey, I could sense a weirdo walking up on me, right? We learned how to get out of situations if we needed to. I feel like these kids, they're so brand new and so stuck in the house. These are the type of kids that if you send them outside alone, they will get caught up in sticky situations because they don't even know how to handle it. Am I advocating that people start sending their kids outside by themselves at 6 years old? No. But the boy was 10 years old. Like, what is the problem?
reckless conduct, a charge that could carry 1 year in jail. The warrant claiming she willingly and knowingly did endanger the bodily safety of her juvenile son.
Our criminal justice system is built on the fact that you did something or you were negligent. You did something criminally negligent. So what is it she did?
Authorities have offered to drop the charge if Patterson signs a safety plan that includes the use of a GPS tracker on her son's phone. But she refuses to sign it.
And my whole thing was, when they arrested the mother, because I guess maybe they felt a way that she left him at home alone by himself, who took care of her son? And is the person that they left her son in custody with better off at parenting than the mother? Because it takes a long time. If you're dealing with something in terms of CPS, most of the time they'll try to call a family member, but are you getting a background check on this family member rather quickly? Are you doing a home study and all these things that they need to do for a foster parent? No, 9 times out of 10, no. So you might be potentially putting a kid with a caregiver that's less responsible than the mother over something that, in my opinion, was small. And if it's really about these kids and the safety of these kids and what's best for these kids, in a situation like that, leave a child with their mom, period. You know, and this is why a lot of people in modern days don't want to have kids. It seems like more trouble than what it's worth. It seems like a huge liability. Child care is really expensive. People these days are so outraged. There's so much outrage culture that they don't really focus on people who are genuinely and truly harming their kids and harming their kids with malintent. It's just, you know, when a parent makes some type of mistake or does something that another person doesn't agree with, we have the mentality of lock them up, lock them up, lock them up, lock them up. Okay, well then where are the kids gonna go? Foster care? As somebody who was in care for 4 years when I was a teenager, that is like the bottom of the barrel, worst of the worst. A lot of these kids, especially the ones that I knew in care, it didn't happen to me, but a lot of the kids that I knew who grew up in care and had got sent around to multiple homes had been abused in every single way by these foster parents or their family members. And I'm not saying all foster parents are like that, but if you're a kid who is, by the time you're 14, you've been in 21 homes and you got all these different people you're coming into contact with, the likelihood that you've been touched multiple times by multiple different people is rather high. And people don't believe foster kids, so they know nobody's going to care. So I don't know. Y'all tell me what y'all think. Again, if y'all are just now coming in, hit the like button. Now, let's talk about Cam Newton and Trina. I'm going to share this video. Y'all tell me what y'all think. They kind of had a little shady moment.
Language faster? Here are 3 tips to improve your learning. Firstly, surround yourself with the language.
So let's watch this. Y'all tell me what y'all think. I feel like this interview was shady. And at this point, I really want people to stop trying to check Cam Newton about his relationship with his girlfriend. We know it's trash. She know it's trash. Don't save her. She don't want to be saved. But we'll discuss it since
that's the influence. I learned a lot from him being a man and being to deal with me. I'm a Sagittarius, so I'm very fiery, feisty. He's an Aries, which is also fiery. And just to understand, like,
this is Trina talking about her husband. So basically, Cam Newton asked, do you have a male influence in your life now? And she was like, yeah, my husband is the male influence.
A man. Mm-hmm. And just in life and dealing with relationships and the good and the bad, I have always felt like I wanted more, it's more the relationship, or was always the person that always did the right thing. And that wasn't always the case. And in myself, I couldn't understand, as a woman and a man, if you don't want to be in a relationship, then why not just stay single? So when I met my husband, I just got to learn a different value of what it takes and what you really want as a man. If you really want to be truthful and honest to your wife or your girlfriend or fiance or whatever, you will be. If you want to cheat and play around and do malicious, crazy things, you will. And a woman can't change that or make you do that. You have to want to do that. So that's a big inspiration to me, because I always searched and looked for that. And I just could never know why. It was just, I just never felt like nobody was worth me losing my freedom and going to jail. So I just always say, you know what? I'm done. I'm gone.
Now, one thing about Trina, she will step. Now, I feel like she always picks the wrong man to begin with. Maybe not in this case with her husband. He seems to be pretty cool. But like, for example, we know Trina dated Wayne and she dated French Montana. It's so many dudes she dated. And that's not to like shade her. It's the industry. So everybody that a woman dates is going to be for public consumption, right? So, she's in her 40s. I'm sure she's dated plenty of men, right? But what I will say is she does step. Like, you don't really see Trina going out sad. She's just picking the wrong men. That's her problem.
That's that inspiration. It gotta mean something. Energy. I have to feel it. It has to have a purpose. Like, and to me, a purpose is relationships. It's all good sometime, and then you fall apart and you hate the person, never speak to them or see them again or care. And I learned that in all of my years of living and learning and finding inspiration. You stuck? Yeah, Jazzy. Yep.
But I'm over. You was in your bag.
Okay. So that was unnecessary. Let me see where I left off because I'm going to go back to his original question. She didn't have to throw Jazzy up in there, right? And I feel like because a lot of women feel indignant about the stuff that Jazzy is putting up with and the fact that she is publicly defending it like it is the hill that she is going to unalive herself on, a lot of women feel the need to continue to comment on it, feel a way about it. I know we feel a way when we look at Cam Newton, but at this point, I feel like we need to let it be because this was his question. Let me go back.
Yes, too.
Is that still the case to this day?
No, they're both deceased.
But as far as
so he asked, do you have a male in your life? He didn't ask her opinion on his relationship, nor were they talking about his relationship. They were talking about her. So I feel like that's shady, but that's okay. He's gonna throw it back. He's gonna get a little sad.
To leave. Me and my cousin was just standing there and like, you know, the car is about to pull up, so we're about to get ready to leave. And when I looked over to my left, there was this guy.
Oh, hold on, wait.
I just kind of
nudged
my cousin.
I passed it up because he threw
things as an
shade.
interviewer, right?
For real right now in my life, and I've learned a lot, and I've seen a lot, and I've been happy and disappointed a lot. So.
It's certain things as an interviewer, right? When you ask certain questions, you get certain responses. You get like the quick yes, no's, maybe so's. Okay, we could talk about that. I asked you a simple question about
inspiration.
An influential male.
Yeah. It's
and you said, boom, your husband. And then you goes and goes and goes.
To the whole,
la, la, la,
that's a real emotion and a feeling.
Real shit.
Yeah.
I was going to save that. You feel me? Because I'm still trying to find out about the baddest, you know what I'm saying, the Diamond Princess. But shit, since you want to go there, you feel me? Like, how did this happen?
And he's right. It's like, I just asked you, you have male influence in your life right now. I think here's the problem with women. When we get into relationships and we be so in love, we just want to make everything about our relationship. And he's trying to tell her, I'm trying to ask you about you. I really wasn't trying to get all into your relationship. Even if she would have just said, yeah, I have a male influence in my life, it's my husband. Now, if he wanted to go further into that and ask her some more questions, she could have. But I feel like Trina was so ready to shade Cam and his relationship that she wanted to let it be known that she has a much better relationship than him and Jazzy do. Which if you do, you do. Cool, who cares? You know, like, don't. You know, comparison is the thief of joy. Like, if you know that you're in a good, solid relationship, why you got to go out your way to try to make somebody feel bad about their relationship in their face and try to like throw shade at that woman? That's what she's choosing to be there and do. Like, and yes, like we all been commenting on her relationship. I think it's one thing to like make public commentary for public consumption because y'all know people want to talk about it versus you get invited to an interview. You're doing an interview with somebody, and if the interview is supposed to be about you, but you turn it around and try to make it about them, and they didn't even ask you to. Like, that's a little bit disrespectful.
Happened.
How
did?
And I'm gonna say this, Cam, he handles a lot of these situations. He real cool with how he handled it. And I said this before. I can see the appeal. I can see why a woman who is less than smart would be intrigued by him. I can see how a woman could get wrapped up in that, right?
How did? Can we go into personal names? Like,
oh yeah, my husband's name is Ben.
Okay.
Okay, hold on, real quick. I want to address some of these comments. So Skinny says Jazzy's unbothered. She's paid up messing with Cam. I think Jazzy is bothered, and I'm saying this as a woman, right? I think as a woman, Skinny, we see things that men often can't see. Hey, Nicole, it's good to see you here, sis. I think as a woman, we see things through other women's responses and the way that their actions and the things that they do, she is bothered. I don't think she's paid up, to be honest. She gives them type of vibes like, I'm trying to prove to him that I'm not here just for his money. I'm not saying he's not paying for certain things. I don't think that she's like, I think she's afraid to ask him for stuff, you know? And he's talked about making, you know, I want to be with a woman who, you know, is not with me for my money, but it's hard to know whether they are or they not when you're in this industry. So she comes off like the type who would try not to even overspend his money or ask for anything because she's trying so hard to prove that she's not there for the money, but she's really losing because since you take care of all them dang kids while the mama on break on top of yours. I think she's bothered, but at the same time, that's where she wants to be. That's where she want to be. I think women keep trying to save Jazz because being the ride or die doesn't normally end well. Also, men talk about leadership, but he's not leading Jazz in a respectful way. I agree with you, Nicole. I think a lot of women are triggered by the situation too. I think if you've ever been in a situation with a man like this, or you've ever been in a situation where a man tried to manipulate you, like naturally you're like, okay, we want to go back and we want to save her, right? But with that said, if you go back and you listen to, you know, Jazzy's content before she got with Cam, nobody's telling her nothing that she doesn't know. She said these exact same things that Trina is sitting on this couch and saying. So what that's telling me is that for some money, fame, and clouts, her whole mentality will change. And at this point, she's a willing participant. The girl is eggplant-matized, right? So all of that good sense she had before is out the window. So it's like people are trying to tell her things that she already know. It'd be different if we never saw her saying these things. Like it would be different if she came into this brand new. She came in this knowing how these men operate, and she still allowed herself to be made a fool of. So at this point, I feel like us women should redirect our energy to women who are more naive, to women who don't know, to women who are incapable of standing up for themselves, because this is a choice at this point, you know? Like, and I guess I'm coming from this from the lens of like, I'm one of them friends, to be honest, my homegirls don't really call me for relationship advice because they already know the advice that I'm going to give. You know, if you're wrong, I'm going to tell you you're wrong. But if my friends know they're putting up with BS, they already know I'm going to say leave. So it's no point in you calling me and venting to me and doing all this talking. If you know that you're not going to leave and that you're going to stay, please don't call my phone. I do not care. I do not care. I love you to death. I will talk to you about anything else, right? We can talk about money, goals, your hopes, your dreams, and your aspirations. Please do not call my phone to vent about a man that you are not going to leave. Please. I do not care. And I know I don't want to give you any advice because you already know what you're supposed to do. So if you don't want to do it. So stay there. Love you. I'm going to love you anyway. But I don't want to hear it. Nor am I trying to save you. You know, if you like it, I love it. And I'm going to be nice to him every time he come around too. Oh, hey, treat him like a brother-in-law. Because if you like it, I love it. Can be chilling. Yeah, he do be chilling. She definitely went backwards. Yeah, she did. So she knows better. Yeah, she eggplant-matized. It's okay. It happens to the best of us. I'm going to say she's too old for that. You know, Jackie's not a super young girl. She's in her 30s. Like, ma'am, get your mind right. But hey, it's a choice.
Everybody calls him B. We met at an event, just hanging out, having fun. It was me and my cousin, a couple other friends. And it was ironic because usually I always say, they want to go. I was like, oh yeah, I'm gonna go. I never would go. But this time I was like, okay, I'm gonna go. Yeah. We ate dinner and we went and we just had a good time. And just as we were about to leave, me and my cousin was just standing there and like, the car is about to pull up. So we're about to get ready to leave. And when I looked over to my left, there was this guy and I just kind of nudged my cousin. I was like, look to the left, look to the left. And then we both looked, and I was like, who is that? And she was like, I don't know. And I was like, we need to find out. And it just, that's just how
Information that needs to be known.
and that was just that. And then
because her husband is fine. He do look good. I said this in another live where I talked about Trina. One thing she doesn't do besides Lil Wayne, we gonna forget that he don't count. She don't do ugly. She don't do ugly.
And he walked over and said hi. And I said hi. And then it was like nobody else was at the event. Not even my cousin. I forgot she was there. It was just me and him in this whole atmosphere. And the rest is history. We're now married. I'm extremely happy internally. And that's the energy.
It's given hopeless romantic. It's given.
It is.
It's given
It is.
sunken place. It's given
It
like
Not something
he's my
like-
everything. It's
Yes,
given.
it
You know
is.
what? Honestly and
That's-
truly, I love to see people who, you know, are not necessarily like, she's not old, but she's no spring chicken. I love to see people in their late 30s, 40s, and 50s still willing to give love a try, still getting into relationships, and being happy. Like, I think it's good to see. I would be careful with the media. And I would also be careful comparing my relationship to other people's relationship, because just because y'all are in a good place now and doing better than them, don't mean that 2 or 3 or 4 or 5 years down the line, the situation is not going to be reversed. You know, I say this, like, even if you love a man, especially as a woman, you can love a man, you can have a really good relationship with him, but, you know, I feel like you have to operate with the mentality that at the end of the day, a man is still a man. And I can't tell y'all how many women that I see who are constantly flaunting their relationships and their marriages. And I know for a fact they man ain't ish. Like, I know for a fact that's not what that is. But, you know, they either genuinely don't know what's going on, or they feel like they just have to, you know, it's their whole identity. So I want her to be careful of that, because again, he didn't even ask her about all that information. Now they're talking about it, but it was like, we just sat down and this is what you made the conversation about. So yeah, I don't, you know, for a woman who has had an extensive career as Trina has had, I feel like she should have kind of waited to get into that. She was too eager for it. With that said, y'all, what's going on with Ray J? He crashing out. He is crashing out. So Ray J did an interview with Pastor Jamal Bryant. Now, if y'all don't know who he is the pastor of a mega church. He was married to Giselle from the Real Housewives of Potomac. He's one of those like pastor pimps. He got a lot of bread, okay? He's one of those. So I guess they did an interview. I didn't even know he had a podcast or anything like that. But I mean, maybe, you know, he offers something of substance. And I guess they did an interview, and Ray J did not want the interview to get, you know, leaked. I guess he said some things that he didn't mean to say, or that he went back and thought about and was like, I shouldn't have said that. But I'm like, well, why did you say all that? Were you under the influence when you went to the interview with the pastor? You know, why weren't you more guarded and more measured? Did you get a little loose before you sat down with the pastor? I don't know. So he basically made some threads and was like, if you put that interview out, it's going to be a problem. So this is from On Site. He came out and called himself apologizing for it. Oh, I'm sorry. I'm not even sharing it.
You know, speaking that kind of language to a
Hold on.
pastor is unbelievable. It's uncalled for. It's
I mean, I don't know. I feel like In normal circumstances, yes, but like this is a different kind of pastor. Like it's Jamal Bryant. He be out here laying it low and spreading it wide. It's not that much different than talking to a dude off the street, honestly and truly. So I don't know if the whole pastor thing really makes a difference. Now, if you're out of pocket, then you're out of pocket, but I don't think him being a pastor really matters, to be honest. It's Jamal Bryant.
Disrespectful. It's distasteful. It's disgraceful in every sense. I don't care what I said it for, no matter what prompted me to say that. And Pastor Bryant knows some of the stuff that I was going through. I mean, I was going through it in the interview in real time. But to show my frustration like that is not cool.
Imagine being in a relationship with a man like this. Oh my God. I can't imagine what Princess Love had to go through. I cannot stand this man is big grown, right? Ray J is in his 40s now. Why are you publicly doing stuff? And it's like you're intentionally doing it. You're thinking about it. You're coming on camera and doing it. That you know that you're going to turn around and have to apologize for. At your big grown age, you should be more measured and have more emotional self-control to where you don't have to come out and make these public apologies because you went on the internet and crashed out. Like, people need to learn to crash out in private first. Before you go to the internet with it, just go to your room and crash out emotionally by yourself. Get it out. Call a friend and crash out. Don't get on the internet crashing out, then turn around and apologizing. And then some things are just so disrespectful. We're not coming back from that. Like, if you threaten me, we're not coming back from that. You took it too far. These people like this are used to acting crazy and having so many mood swings that they feel like they can cross lines that are uncrossable and then we can turn back around. And it's like, no, I have nothing for you.
Saying I'm gonna snatch somebody off the pulpit and they a pastor is being blasphemy or on that same level, whatever that means.
Hey, Jamal, what's up? How are you today? It's good to see you. Oh, your son had your phone. That's okay, no worries. Everything about Ray J seems phony, inauthentic, and conniving. Yeah, he gives mental issues, but we'll get into that. And it's like sometimes I'm like, are you just trying to go viral? That's what I wonder. I wonder, does he do these things so that he can continue to stay relevant? Because his whole persona is dressed in is mess and drama. Like, we don't really see him out here being known for anything positive. It's always he hanging with gangsters. He's threatening to get the booty goons on people. He's having drama with Princess Love or drama with Tierra Marie or out and about cheating. It's like he has a completely opposite reputation of Brandon.
It's not okay. My bad, Pastor Bryant. I apologize, man.
It's like Ray J never grew up. Like, he never became an adult.
I lost it. I'm human. People go through stuff, and I was very angry because I'm scared that some of the stuff I said that I wasn't supposed to say could affect me legally.
And my whole thing is, at least be smart. I don't understand why he thought that as a grown man, he could come on the internet and threaten another grown man, and that was going to be an effective strategy for getting him to keep the interview off the internet. Because now at this point, you are challenging this grown man. You are pulling his whole card, right? So if he doesn't release it, he's going to look like a punk. You're better off in a situation like that, calling that man behind the scenes and negotiating something, making your threats behind the scenes where can't other people hear them. You're better off doing that, making your legal threats, whatever you're going to do, to try to prevent this video from coming out, it's best to be done in secret and in private. That way that man's pride is not hurt to the point where it's like, well, dang, I gotta put it out. You forced my hand.
And stuff like that. So I just lost it, and I shouldn't have said words like that. Pray for me. If you would have me at your church next time you are fellowshipping, I would love to come through and pray with you in person, pray with you with the whole church. I apologize to the whole Newburgh. And whenever you are preaching again, or whenever I can come through on a positive tip to just say I'm sorry personally to you and the church and the fellowship, please have me.
No,
I would love to do that as well.
If you're gonna crash out to that extent, and you're gonna crash out publicly, you have to stand on it. You have to stand on it. Ain't no coming back and apologizing, because then you're just gonna look crazy and emotionally unstable. Just stand on it. You know, that's all I gotta say about that. But I do understand why he didn't want the interview to come out. I think he was a little bit too vulnerable. I'm going to show this clip about him talking about feeling like he wanted to unalive himself.
When we took a break, you said that you really need to think through things because there was a moment in your own life that you thought about suicide. Tell me what was going on. Is that when you were on?
Now, because of the way he worded that, he said, we took a break, and then you told me there was a moment of your life when you thought about, you know, the unaliving. Now, I'm wondering if that was something that Ray J told Pastor Bryant off camera, and it was supposed to be off the record, but then he decided he wanted to bring it up on camera. I don't know.
On the roof in Mexico?
That was when I was on the roof. And that was, I thought about suicide a lot, but that was when I attempted it. And I really didn't want to do it, but I really did want to do it. Because it's like when you have a bad dream and then you think it's real, it feels real.
Yeah.
And then you wake up, I be feeling like that life really happened. And so whatever dimension I popped into is where I'm at now.
Yeah.
So I had a bad dream last night. So I'm here now with you. I think what happened last night in my mind happened. So if they having a funeral for me in the other dimension, they probably are.
No, you're going to live. You got years to go.
I'm living here.
Yeah. When we took a break, you said...
Okay, that got really strange.
I wanted the interview to go a different way. I didn't know how the interview was going to go, but when you with the in the beginning, we just hurting.
Yeah.
They did, because it's like, damn, man. Like, I cannot get away from it. So it's like, since I can't get away from it, why not just jump into it?
Yeah. It's the bravery of your truth. And truth sayers always...
I'm a liar.
No, you speaking truth today.
No, because I might not be able to put this up. I'm still a liar.
Yeah.
I've lied about my whole life.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I'm a liar. Unless I say, these people did this to me. They're very bad people, and they've been controlling me this whole time. Just like the National Syndicate and all this. They'll come kill me, bro. They'll kill me.
Now, somebody said, I never know when Ray J is serious or being calculated. I mean, maybe if he would have said this 5 years ago, but there's so much stuff that has come out around the industry. Like, why would this not be true? He might be being calculated. He might just be trying to keep his name relevant. But we have seen evidence to support the fact that these people in the industry have handlers, that these people in the industry are being controlled and exploited. You know, so it's very possible that a lot of the same things that happened to the Dons, Richards, and Cassie, and all those, and you know, allegedly Bieber, and allegedly Chris, happened to Ray J too. He came in the game real young in the industry. I won't forget that Brandy was a teenager messing with Wanye. So it's very possible that some things happened to him, and he behaves like an adult that is not well adjusted, who never grew up. So there are some mental things going on. I know that doesn't stem out of nowhere. They grew up in a middle class home, like they grew up with money. So that ain't it. He didn't grow up in a bad environment. Something had to go wrong. Okay. I know poor Brandy be at home, shake estimation. I'm sure she does. I'm sure she does. But you know, Brandy, she don't really speak on the whole stuff with Ray J because I think she wants to kind of, you know, be private and keep her name unattached from all that. This Pastor Bryant seems just as inauthentic. Yeah, because my whole thing is I would have said, hey, let's discontinue the interview or let's not talk about this in the interview. It seems like that was something that they had talked about off camera and he decided he wanted to bring that into the interview. And even if he got permission from Ray J as a pastor, where is your wisdom? You shouldn't be so quick to say, hey, this man really seems like he's struggling mentally. Let me put this on camera for people to see or to get views. That should have been like, okay, brother, well, let's talk after the interview about this. Let's cut this out of the interview. And let's see how we can try to get you some spiritual help and guidance. But again, when you worship that almighty dollar, you behave just like the rest of the world. You just got a few nice scriptures and quotes to go along with it.
For this, I wanted the interview to go a different way. I didn't know how to.
So that's over. Yeah. I don't know. Yeah. I don't like that Pastor Jamal Bryant. I understand why Ray J didn't want that out. And I actually do feel bad for him. Again, he seems like a tormented, troubled soul. I want him to stop crashing out on the internet though. You know, all attention is not good attention. And you got to balance it out. You can't always be seen acting crazy and acting goofy and going through trauma and turmoil in your relationships just to get some attention. And the problem with Ray J is he doesn't do any balancing. It seems like it's always negative. So I don't know. He was a talented person. He could sing. He had his music career. I think, you know, his downfall was getting on Love and Hip Hop and all that drama with Tierra Marie and Princess Love. I think he should have probably focused on his career. But even then, that sounds like that would have been to his detriment too because of how the industry is. With that said, guys, I am done with my lunch hour for today. If y'all have any, Skinny Boy, I'm sorry, you sent me a video.
The interview was not over, but when you with the
Give me a second. Give me a second. Let me see what you was talking about. Messages. Ooh, okay. Let me save this. He's a tormented, troubled little twerp who's been privileged his whole life. I mean, yeah, he's probably been privileged. That don't mean he ain't been touched. Or that don't mean that he hasn't been exploited and extorted, you know? I think he's spoiled for sure. I'm just saying, I don't think that means he ain't been messed with. Okay, so I'm going to share this before I leave. Skinny Boy sent me this. Okay, so this says activity time at the kindergarten in China. So he sent me this because I was talking about how in the United States, kids are soft. You know, they play on video games all day. They don't go outside and play. We don't let them go do anything by themselves. It's like they're expected to stay in the house all day and play video games and watch TV. Anytime you try to give your kids discipline and structure and try to teach them how to be self-sufficient, you're seen as being a bad parent, right? And this was in response to the lady who got arrested because she took her son, one of her sons, to the doctor, left her 10-year-old at home, and the 10-year-old decided that he wanted to walk to the store, which was less than a mile away, and get something to eat. Somebody called the police because they saw the 10-year-old walking, which is weird to me. That's not my first inclination. But again, we live in this culture of outrage. We live in this culture of, back in the day, people would watch your kids, not call the police. Like they would say, oh, we're going to keep an eye on such and such while they walk home. They wouldn't call the police. But we live in a culture where we are in constant fear of kids getting snatched up. We think if they just step their toe out the door, they're going to get snatched up. We have opted to isolate kids from the realities of the world rather than teaching them, hey, stranger danger. Y'all remember we used to watch the videos about stranger danger? So when I was a kid and a grown person used to try to, like, I've had grown men say, hey, you want to get in the car with me? I won't bite. Like, I've had that happen to me, and I'm like, no, and run away, right? But I was taught that could happen. I was constantly prepared for that. And we were always outside playing with other kids without parental supervision. So for the mom to get arrested over that, especially since the boy was 10, to me, that was crazy. But I was talking about how I teach Chinese kids English, and y'all would be surprised. I have kids who are 5 and 6 years old whose first language is Chinese, and they read and write in Chinese, and they read and write English better than most children in the United States. I talk to these kids and I'm like, what did you do at school today? And they're like, oh, we planted trees today. You did what? Oh, you went outside and played. Yeah, we did that. Oh, like they have so many activities. Oh, I had piano lessons today, or I had a violin lesson today. These kids be 5, 6, 7. So this is a video Skinny Boy sent me about a kindergarten in China. Okay, now in the United States, they wouldn't dare give a kid a sewing machine to try to make anything. At that age, if something happened to the little boy and his finger got poked, they would be like, sue the daycare, arrest the daycare owners. Like, this is the stuff that goes on in the United States. That's why we can't prosper. That's why our kids can't grow. That's why they are emotionally, educationally, spiritually, and developmentally stunted. Let's continue. So, in working with these kids, I've actually become harsher and stricter about my daughter, the educational standard that I hold my daughter to, because I'm like, you're not competing against other Americans. This is your competition. This is your competition. And they play the violin, they do math. They start working on their math early on. They speak 2 languages, right? They know how to make things. They're planting trees. They're cooking. They're doing all this stuff. So you got to be able to compete, baby, because there are children like this out in the world. Yeah, I can't believe that. Wow, yeah, they will definitely run the world one day. Precisely. Meanwhile, we are in the United States arresting mothers because their child walked half a mile to the store. The children can't even walk to the store by themselves at 10 years old. All of our mothers would have been under the jail, especially in the 90s. Okay, we stayed outside. We came home when it got dark. We were supposed to come home by the street lights. I was disobedient. I came home when it was dark. So with that said, guys, I hope that inspires y'all to, help your children develop more independence, and consider investing in their education and putting them in the fine arts. Everything doesn't have to be football and basketball. Now, if they're really good at it, fine, but there are other things that are far more impressive on an application that they could be doing. With that said, guys, I enjoyed talking to y'all. It has been another great lunch hour. I will see y'all tomorrow. Y'all have a good day.